The reality here is the code of conduct will only tell that what the person is, what the firm is, and how the process will actually happen. Training of intermediaries, that is, intermediaries means the brokers and the merchant bank, levying fee or other charges for carrying out the purpose of the act. Whenever you see any kind of a news of Sebi, that is, Sebi will only go with the development functions. Hello everybody, a warm welcome to one and all. I'm Vidhyaashram from the Department of Business Studies in Vidhyaashram PU College, the Temple of Excellence. Now here in this session, we're going to learn something more about the objectives of Sebi. Now I told you in the last session what exactly Sebi is all about. Securities and Exchange Board of India, which was started in the year 1988, but it got its recognition in the year 1992, and then it was the statutory body. Now here you need to understand what exactly has happened to Sebi and what are the objectives of Sebi, the regulations of Sebi, the functions of Sebi. The first one is the objective of Sebi is to regulate. See, this is a body which regulates the stock exchanges and the securities industry to promote their orderly functioning. So properly they need to function, that is what they are supposed to check. Secondly is to protect the rights and interest of investors, that means the public at large. Now they need to, should be there to protect the interest and the right, and that is what Sebi does. Particularly individual investors, they're not more of the company, but they always want to secure the individual investor and to guide and educate them. That is what Sebi always go with. Sebi also has some few classes, tutorials, which is given in the national channels. The reason is they want the investor to get educated with all the things, and whenever the norms will change also, it is a Sebi duty to tell the entire public what exactly is the new regulation. To prevent trading malpractice, yes, for this we really need somebody who can check whether there is some malpractice or not, and achieve a balance between self-regulation by the security industry and its statutory regulation. So it should actually maintain the balance between the securities industry and its statutory regulations. And fourthly, we have to regulate and develop a code of conduct. See, the code of conduct is very, very important in anybody's life, as well as the institutions or whatever the possible organization forms we actually see in our day-to-day life. The reality here is the code of conduct will only tell that what the person is, what the firm is, and how the process will actually happen. And fair practice, see here they need to prevent malpractice, and here they need to go with fair practice by intermediaries like. Now who are the intermediaries? Intermediaries are the third party, right? So intermediaries like brokers, merchant bankers, all these people are called as the intermediaries, with a view of making them competitive and professional. So the brokers or the merchant bankers, they need to be very competitive, plus they need to have a professionalism kind of approach. So that is what the objectives of Sebi is. Let's check the functions of Sebi. Now the functions of Sebi, you need to know that the way the objective is to maintain prevent the malpractice, to maintain a fair practice, to give a competitive edge to the brokers and the intermediaries, that is the merchant banks. Same way the function is keeping in mind the emerging nature. Now you need to understand, whenever we go with emerging, from the 20th century to the 21st century, business is being emerging, that is, there is a change. And Sebi need to actually withstand all the change. Nature of securities market in India, Sebi was entrusted with the twin task of both regulation and development. I'll tell you more about this twin task. Now, twin task you are supposed to know of the securities market. So I'll tell you what exactly the twin task was. Regulatory functions. What are the regulatory functions of SEBI? The first one is registration of brokers. Now this is actually very, very important. Registration of brokers and sub-brokers and other players in the market. There should be a proper registration. That is, people, whoever wants to be a broker or a sub-broker, they need to register in the eyes of SEBI, and only then they can actually come with a brokerage. Registration of collective investment schemes and mutual funds. So even the mutual funds and the schemes, whichever comes in the investment, even they are supposed to get registered themselves in the SEBI. That is the SEBI Act, which was passed in 1992. That is what the Act will actually protect them. Next is regulation of stock bankers and portfolio exchanges. Now, portfolio exchanges and merchant bankers, again, these people are the intermediaries. So that is what they are supposed to get regulations. Prohibition of fraudulent and unfair trade practice. We have Unfair Trade Practice Act itself, and that is, again, SEBI need to check that they are doing a fair practice but not a malpractice. The last one here is controlling insider trading. Now this is what the thing which you should know. Insider trading, in the sense, there are companies which will take decisions on what will be the share value, at what price the share value will actually go to the public. Now, what happens is the insider should not tell this to anybody else apart from SEBI. They should only tell SEBI, and then they are supposed to go for a disclosure in the stock exchange. Now, insider trading is illegal in India, but still what happens is there are few people, the brokers or the CEOs or CFO, whoever it is, they'll definitely tell these things to their relatives so that they can get more profit, whether it is in a high demand or it is in a low demand. So all these things will be the information which will be passed from one person to another person. So SEBI has to control the insider trading and take over bids and imposing penalties for such practice. If somebody does any kind of a thing of insider trading, heavy penalty should be given to those people, and insider practice should be avoided. So these are the regulations. Few of the regulations, other regulations, which are calling for information by undertaking inspection, conducting inquiries and audits of stock exchange and intermediaries. So they should regularly check these people, levying fee or other charges for carrying out the purpose of the act. So whenever they have the kind of a thing, they are supposed to go. Performing and exercising such power under securities contracts, that is Regulation Act of 1956. 1956 is a Companies Act, which has also said these regulations has maybe diligent but the government of India, by the government of India, but still what exactly they should do is they need to take care of all the functions, and that is the regulatory functions. So development functions. So regulatory we actually got to know. Let's check the development functions. First is investor education. That is what the development function is. Training of intermediaries. That is, intermediaries means the brokers and the merchant bank. They're supposed to get trained. Promotion of fair practice and a code of conduct of all SROs, that is securities. Conducting research and publishing information useful to all market practice. Whenever you see any kind of a news of SEBI, that is, SEBI will only go with the development functions. And in India, the SEBI is really doing really good. The way they are keeping all the code of conduct and then moving with the regulations and giving penalties to people who are not practicing the way the SEBI rules says. All these things the SEBI is doing it, and it is really appreciated. The next one is the organization structure of SEBI. That is how the organization structure is there. First is, has SEBI is statutory. Now, when I say statutory, that means independent body. There has been a considerable expansion in the range and scope of its activity. Each of this activity of SEBI now demands a more careful closure, coordinated and intensive attention to enable it to attain its objectives. And next one is the SEBI also formed two advisor committee, that is they are the primary market advisor committee and secondary market advisor committee. When I say primary market is a place where fresh shares are issued, and secondary market is like your stock exchange where those fresh shares are brought and sold. So they have two advisory board. One is for the primary market advisor committee, another is the secondary market advisory committee. In the next session I'll tell you about the primary as well as the secondary market advice committee. So these are the things which you are supposed to know about SEBI. We have covered the functions of SEBI, regulation of SEBI, development of SEBI, and what really SEBI does, how it is so useful for anybody whoever starts their company. They are supposed to register themselves in the Companies Act 2013, as well as whenever the share price will actually be increased or decreased, they are supposed to report to the SEBI. They should always have a proper code of conduct, and then whatever the SEBI has been regulating the companies, they are supposed to abide by the law and rule of SEBI, and then only they are supposed to go. These are the things which you people need to know, students. Thank you so much. I'll see you when I see you.